Welcome to another 21 Hats Dashboard, brought to you by our sponsor, The Great Game of Business. I'm Lauren Feldman. I'm here with John Arensmeyer, who is founder and CEO of Small Business Majority, an advocacy group for businesses and entrepreneurs. Welcome back, John.
Good to be here, Lauren.
Always good to have you. I appreciate you taking the time. John, last week, Joe Biden gave his State of the Union address. I know you lobbied the White House in anticipation of the speech. Did you hear what you wanted to hear?
We heard certain things we wanted to hear. We're glad that the president really focused on the fact we do have a robust economy. Just today, I think the report came out that 275,000 new jobs were created last month. That's not to say there aren't struggles still facing small businesses. Inflation hasn't come down as far as we'd like. It continue to be issues of access to capital. But I think we are, and we see this with the small business owners that are part of our system. Things have really improved. They've stabilized, and way better than I think any economist or anyone predicted. I can touch on a couple of the points that he made that relate to the work we care about. If you're interested,
absolutely, please. That's why we love to have you here.
Yeah, no, he talked a lot about the programs that the legislation that he and Congress worked on the last Congress, particularly around procurement. There's obviously a lot of contracting opportunities due to the Inflation Reduction Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, the CHIPS Act. And, there's opportunities for small business in all of these. Part of the problem is making sure small businesses understand where to go, how to get connected into this money. The SBA has a training program known as the 7J training program that really helps small businesses figure out where to go. We urge small businesses to go to their site and get more information. So, he talked generally about the money out there for all of this work that's being done. And obviously we're concerned that I want to make sure small businesses tap into that. The other area that he focused on that we care about is healthcare. And, he did make the point that we've been making. We need to continue to extend the subsidies for purchasing healthcare on the exchanges. More than half of the participants in the exchanges are either small business owners, employees, or self-employed people. And we just saw a record sign-up recently for the exchanges of over 20 million sign-ups. So it's essential that we keep this momentum going and we keep those subsidies in place. And the other thing he talked about was look, cost is still a huge issue in the healthcare system, and so he wants to expand the ability to for Medicare to negotiate with drug companies, and we've done some research into this. Drug prices continue to be a huge problem. 3/4 of the small businesses that we surveyed see it as a problem, and we need more transparency in the system. We need more, to eliminate junk fees. You talked about junk fees, particularly in the healthcare arena. 88% in our poll of small business owners said they want to see this facility and other junk fees in the healthcare system brought down. So, he did touch upon a couple of these key areas that we really care about.
Let me go back to the healthcare subsidies on the exchanges. You mentioned that you consider it essential that they be continued. They were enhanced, extended as part of the COVID legislation. Are they in danger of going away? Are they expiring?
They are due to expire if nothing's done at the end of this year. They were extended in the Inflation Reduction Act for 2 years, and now those 2 years are going to be up in a little less than a year. So yes, they are in danger.
What do you think the prospects are?
Well, look, it's as we found over the years, the Affordable Care Act and all the benefits it's brought are more popular than they've been. We do have obviously newsflash here, a partisan Congress, but I think that it's going to be difficult to walk away from this level of support for people. When you see the 20 million that signed up recently, we're hopeful.
It's not generally viewed, I don't think, as an issue for small business owners. Is this primarily do you consider it essential for business owners who are too small to offer health insurance through their own health plan, or is it broader than that?
Well, as I mentioned, over half of the participants in the marketplaces are either small business owners, employees, or self-employed. And that makes sense because small businesses don't offer coverage at the same rate that big companies do. So this is a place where business owners and self-employed and employees who aren't getting it through their employer can go to get coverage. So yes, it's a huge central issue for small businesses.
Was there anything you were hoping to hear from the president that you did not hear?
Well, there's some other issues that they've actually taken action on. Childcare has become a huge issue for small business owners, and the lack of access to quality childcare is seen by small business owners as a real problem. Um, Over half, we just did a survey. Well, actually, we're coming out with a survey on this, so we haven't published it yet. But over half of the folks we surveyed see that lack of access to childcare is an impediment for them and for their employees. And the president issued an executive order a couple of weeks ago, and that helps to take steps to expand access to childcare. The problem is that the subsidies that were in place to support childcare providers went away in last fall, and absent of congressional action to pump the money back into the system, as childcare providers are going to struggle. And I should point out that childcare providers themselves are mostly small businesses, mostly run by women, many run by women of color and immigrants. So this is not only is it an issue for small businesses who they and their employees need access to childcare, but the actual providers of childcare themselves are small businesses. The other thing we'd have liked to have heard is, he talked a lot about reproductive health, but what most people don't realize that access to reproductive health is a huge issue for small businesses. Again, we did a survey last year on this issue, and 72% of women entrepreneurs support the right to receive an abortion. 55% of Republican women, these are women we surveyed, women entrepreneurs we surveyed, support that. Nearly 2/3 say that their ability to decide if and when to have children has allowed them to advance in their career and start their own business. So while we're pleased the president focused on the issue of reproductive health, we want to emphasize that this is, again, most people maybe don't think of it this way. It is a big issue for women entrepreneurs and for them starting businesses and growing businesses and hiring women to work in their businesses. So again, it's something the administration is focusing on, that he talked about, and we want to emphasize that it's a real small business concern as well.
John, last week, not only did we have the State of the Union address, there were a couple of interesting court rulings that I wanted to run by you. One involves the Minority Business Development Agency, and it follows in the footsteps of similar rulings affecting affirmative action in schools and the SBA's programs. It is ruling that this agency cannot give out support to business owners based on race. I know your organization is made up of a very significant percentage of business owners of color. What do you and your constituents make of this decision?
Well, that's true, Lauren. I mean, 2/3 of the small businesses in our network are BIPOC owned businesses. And look, this is crazy. Our mission and the mission of many in government is to support the businesses who need help the most. And the businesses who need help the most are very concentrated in communities of color and other under-resourced communities. So we need to target our efforts in those communities. It's not like the government is only supporting businesses in minority communities, but this particular agency, that's what they're targeted with. There's a real need, and this is where, if you really want to change things and ensure we have a thriving and equitable economy, you need to go where the businesses are, and you need to work with agencies and with private organizations who specialize in working in those communities. So to deny a particular agency that focuses on this particular cohort is crazy.
Well, let me ask you this. We had a conversation previously, I think it might have been in the first week of the year, where we talked about the court ruling that affected the way the SBA offers support. And I think you were somewhat encouraging of the idea that the SBA would be able to adjust, that this is going to force them to change, but they would probably still be able to get support to the business owners who needed it the most. It just couldn't be purely on racial lines. Do you see that as a possibility here?
Look, the SBA and the government as a whole supports businesses across all demographics. However, going to where the problem is, focusing on where the need is, which is heavily in BIPOC communities, is an appropriate way to work. We work with businesses of all shapes and sizes across the country, but we target businesses in more under-resourced communities. And therefore, we work with organizations who know those communities the best, who we can partner with most effectively. And if you have one agency in government, like the Minority Business Development Agency, that has a focus and a target in a particular community, that is perfectly appropriate. It's not like the whole government is only focused on those businesses, but to have an agency that targets where the concern and the need is totally appropriate. As far as the SBA is concerned, again, they focus their energies on where the need is the greatest, and they're going to, I presume, to keep doing that.
I think the judge may have even written in his opinion something along the lines of, a business owner of color like Oprah Winfrey doesn't need this support. It can't just be purely racial. It should be based on actual need. How do you respond to that argument?
Look, there are needs in particular communities. To single out someone like Oprah Winfrey, was a tiny percentage of the African American community that is obviously not in need of government support is crazy. We work in communities across the country, and the communities where the need to help the most are often BIPOC communities. Not exclusive. We work in rural communities, which, by the way, are also mixed demographically. So you go to where the need is, and there are communities, and there are other organizations working in these communities that focus on those communities, as does the MBDA. And you go to where the need is. It's not exclusive and across the government. It's not exclusive to our work, but it is. You have to target your focus. And to simply say that there are a few people of color out there that don't need help is a smokescreen.
How do you think this plays out? I assume there will probably be an appeal. What do you think the immediate impact will be?
Well, I don't have a crystal ball, but we are going to be digging in more intensively and doing research into what the benefit of the programs that do target BIPOC and other under-resourced communities, and what and the help that they provide. And I think what we want to do is say, look, here are these programs. Here is how they are helping entrepreneurs in these communities, and we need to maintain them.
The other court ruling I wanted to ask you about affects the Corporate Transparency Act, beneficial ownership. It's a new filing requirement as of this year. I believe you and I spoke about this last time as well, and I got the sense from you, correct me if I'm wrong, that you weren't concerned that this was overly burdensome for most business owners. I think everybody agrees that there's a good cause here. It's seeking to make sure that there aren't shell companies set up to help drug dealers and other nefarious activities. This ruling declared that Corporate Transparency Act is unconstitutional. How do you view that?
We're perplexed about this. First of all, I don't understand how anyone could argue that it's unconstitutional to ask for information to drive a need, which is to protect against money laundering. Look, the vast majority of small businesses know who their owners are. It's a simple filing process. Who are the owners? They have a year to file, and to say otherwise is scaremongering. For the small percentage of businesses that have complex ownership structures, by definition, they have lawyers and accountants who help to set them up, who can easily navigate the system for them. So your typical food truck owner or dry cleaner or hardware store, they know who their owners are. It's a simple filing process, and there's a real public policy need to do this with very little friction for most businesses. So we don't really understand. We did some research into this. As of January, when we did the research, already 44% of the businesses we surveyed had filed. 68% of them said it was easy, with only 18% saying it was difficult. So, we don't understand the hullabaloo that's being made over this. If you go to our site, our resource site, venturize.org, there's information on there about how, there's a blog section with a blog on how you can file if there's any questions about this.
That's at venturize.org.
Venturize.org, which is our small business resource site.
Excellent. All right, last topic. I wanted to ask you about immigration. I highlighted a story from last week in the 21 Hats Morning Report that referred to how a slew of business groups are getting more active in terms of lobbying in favor of immigration, expressing the somewhat dire need that many businesses, including small businesses, feel for more employees, more workers in this country. There seems to be a potential solution here. How do you feel about that? How does your organization feel about that?
Well, what's going on with immigration is insane, and it's being driven by partisan forces that aren't looking at the reality. Well, first of all, you look throughout our history, our economic growth. What's made us world power is immigrants coming over the centuries, coming to this country and expanding our productivity. We now have new arrivals coming in who are eager to work. And the article you talked about, first of all, a study we've done that shows that 2/3 of businesses are struggling to find workers right now. The article that you mentioned showed that there are 9 million positions open in this country, 1.4 vacancies for every unemployed worker. The article also talked about a Congressional Budget Office study that showed that immigration will add $7 trillion, that's trillion with a T, dollars to the economy in the coming decade, boosting government tax revenue by $1 trillion. So here you have a situation where there's a tremendous need. We know economic growth is driven by immigration to a large extent, and you have many, many folks who are eager to work. So it's a complete disconnect. And only 1/4 of the employees registered for the H-1B visa program have received visas. Everyone is just petrified because this has become a partisan political issue. Meanwhile, as you pointed out, and that article pointed out, the business community is saying, look, we need these people to work. And you have people who want to work. We need a comprehensive solution to our immigration situation. I don't even want to get into the legal versus undocumented, because we have over 11 million undocumented immigrants working in this country already. So yes, we need those folks and others coming in. We need a rational system, and we need for the folks that are working here, we need a pathway to citizenship over time. But if you look at it from an economic standpoint, businesses have the need. There are people here who want to work. Our economy has the need. What are we doing?
Do you see any hope for positive movement on this issue before the election, or are we just going to have to wait and see how things shake out?
Well, I think the business community needs to speak even louder. That article did show that there is lobbying going on, but it's really being drowned out by partisan forces that are turning this into an issue that it's not. And And I'm not here to say that people aren't concerned, but I think if people realize the sort of economic realities here, folks that are coming, migrants that are coming to cities, and quite rightly, the mayors in these cities are saying, hey, you don't have the resources. Well, these are all folks who want to work. So let's have a system where we can process their applications and allow them to work. If they're coming through the asylum system and they're being settled, and the situation is they've got to stay in the country for a certain period of time, and they want to work, let's figure out a way for them to work.
John, I always appreciate your sharing your thinking and especially your data. It's great to have numbers on, especially how business owners view these particular issues. Thank you so much for taking the time. This episode was brought to you by The Great Game of Business, which helps businesses use an open book management system to help build healthier companies. You can learn more at greatgame.com. John Arensmeyer is founder and CEO of Small Business Majority. That website that can offer you small business resources, again, is venturize.org. Thank you, John. Have a great week, everybody.